it made you as the player feel like you are in the world with IOTA and with Etoile. You never felt like you were a backseat passenger to the gaming experience. You felt like you were right up there with them.
I'm Amy Phillips and I'm a programmer.
And I'm Jamie Cook. I'm a quality assurance technician.
And we both worked on Tearaway.
I remember Rex was telling me that he was inspired by all of the paper that he had stacked on his desk, and there was some inspiration that was taken from that's what the game should be made out of, paper. Paper is something that's really versatile. It also lends itself very well to the crafty aspect.
Now, a real story can begin.
The Tearaway story is a journey that you go on. You guide IOTA or Etoile through a beautiful paper world. They have a message in their head and you have to guide them to deliver it to you.
Once we had decided that we were making Tearaway on the Vita, we had all sorts of different ideas floating around and we hadn't settled on kind of what the core mechanics were going to be for the game. So we wanted to figure out like what was going to be the sort of minute-to-minute gameplay, what were players actually going to do, how were they going to do it in this world. So we got everyone into the studio to do a 1-week game jam. And a game jam is basically, you come in, you form into small teams, and then you can very quickly come up with ideas, try them out. So like prototyping doesn't have to be that you write the code and you run it on the Vita. You can prototype things by like making them out of paper or making a video to show how it might work. Anything to be able to very, very quickly decide whether an idea is going to work and decide how that idea is going to fit in with all your other ideas. We were jamming on what was different about the Vita. The Vita's got all these cool features that lots of games aren't using. It's like front touch screen, back touch screen, it's got a microphone, it's got a camera, it's got location-based stuff. And we made loads of little mini games around all these different features. And then after we had done that for a week, we kind of tried to work out how we could fit all of those games together to make one cohesive game and how would it fit into the Tearaway world to have these features.
I think with Media Molecule in particular, we're a very close development studio. We're all very much open to these kind of jams, but it works really well for us as a team. We tend to get our best work out of jams, and some of the best features that have been in our games have been born from the jams. Because we all know each other on a personal level, it makes it even easier to kind of all get together and be creative.
It's one of my favourite bits of kind of creating a game is where you don't know what on earth you're making and you're just like throwing ideas in the air and trying out all sorts of different things.
I think what's really cool as well is that it encourages you to work with people that you wouldn't normally work with. An artist will go and pair up with one of our audio team. That kind of ensemble just seems to work for us. We started off with a little character called Ula, and it took a lot of development for it to then become IOTA and Etoile. I think we focused so much on the console to make sure that the gameplay felt fun and it felt tactile. When I was testing it, I knew what the vision was for the visuals. We wanted it to be an amazing, immersive paper environment, whereas the gameplay kind of felt like my personal priority. It needed to suit the Vita and it needed to be fun.
Oh no!
You're so close.
Christoph designed this motif where you have to push your finger through and stop the glue waterfall from falling onto you.
Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that.
We wanted to make the Papercraft world feel realistic. So for example, in the game, there's a bunch of things that you can find that are just white paper. And if you take a photo of that thing, then it stashes it in your inventory. And if you go to the tearaway.me website, you can print out the Papercraft plans and go and make that thing in the real world. And we actually made sure that everything in the Papercraft world, in the Vita, you could make in the real world, which put some limitations on the artists. We ended up sitting around the table in the kitchen, paper crafting squirrels and trees and all sorts, and kind of putting them together and making little scenes, and also to make sure that it was easy enough that people at home would be able to make them too.
It was kind of a testing process on its own, really. The Papercraft plans was a whole nother level that normally I wouldn't need to do as a tester, because normally we just get given a game level and that's it. With Tearaway Unfolded, I think I tested 30,000 variations of the Papercraft.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, all the different localizations, all the different features.
Yeah, trying to make that pig. The pig was really tricky.
Actually making the IOTA messenger That took me the longest, and I made it out of card, so it was very difficult.
I made a Wendigo and it fell over.
It was very much a world that you hold in your hands. One of the challenges that we had when we moved from the Vita to the PlayStation 4 was how do we get that world in your hands feeling? The TV would have to become the window that the player is able to access the game through, and they would do that through the DualShock 4.
So rather than having the world in your hands, you've suddenly got the world inside your TV.
Inside your TV.
And then we had to remap all of the controller stuff because on the Vita you've got all these features that you don't have on a DualShock 4.
But at the same time, we'd figured out that the PlayStation 4 camera would actually be really useful to connect the player to that new concept of the TV being your world. Going to PS4 and seeing it for the first time just reminds me of how much more vibrant it is. I mean, like the power and the graphics capability of the PS4 just made something like a level like this just pop. When I use the DualShock swipe and bring in the effects of wind, I just love it.
As a programmer, I write the code that makes, for example, the graphics appear. So I started off as a network programmer, which was kind of linking up consoles. On Tearaway, that would be talking to the server and saying, oh, this person has unlocked these Papercraft plans.
Code is very much the building blocks of a game. Without it, we don't have a game.
Yeah, it's making sure that everyone else's work will actually kind of work and be shown. So like drawing the graphics, playing the audio.
I think a lot of it is behind the scenes. Like I don't see what you do every single day, but I know that it's the skeleton structure of what I end up playing. So I think that's the coolest part about the programming world. When we do Friday features, we go around the office every Friday and we'll have a beer together and we'll talk about what we've made that week. And it's really cool because I get to see what Amy's been up to all week and she'll show me her code and what it does.
Well, the thing I really like about Friday Feature is that I show off something cool and then like 3 or 4 people will come up to me afterwards and say, that's really cool, but did you think about this and did you think about that? And it means that you've written something and then it links into a load of things that other people are working on.
My day-to-day job was to take the game, play it on the Vita, test it, and any bugs that I'd find, I would report them to Amy, to production, and get them to fix the issues so that we could play the game. I mean, at the beginning it was really hard because we didn't really have the game. So being a QA person at that time, it was more about finding out what was fun and providing feedback and thinking about it from an end user's perspective, so the player.
It's a massive relief when it's like finally finished and you can go into game or something and actually see it on the shelf.
We did do that.
Yeah.
We all took a field trip the moment it was released. We filled up the tiny game in Guildford.
Yeah, all took photos.
Pointing at the shelf.
Yeah. Also, when you see someone else, like someone that you don't know, buying your game, that is just the most amazing feeling.
It felt like we had finally achieved what we wanted. We'd spent so long developing it and messing around with ideas of what Tearaway should be. And actually seeing the final product and seeing how beautiful it was. I mean, the engine team did a fantastic job of making the paper look like paper in our game. When we started getting feedback from the community, people were actually making their own models out of Papercraft and they were sharing it with us. It was just fantastic to know that Tearaway gave them that inspiration.
And the BAFTA goes to...
Get ready to make some noise.
Tearaway.
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 Everyone at Media Molecule is an artist and they're all here tonight. I'm so proud of them all.
This is a really special award. Everybody at the Molecule really pulled together as a family to ship this.
I'd really like to thank the founders of Media Molecule. I'm kind of saying, oh, let's get some paper and have giant fingers coming up through it. You know, it's kind of a hard pitch, but they really believed in us.
Because we knew it was cool and we enjoyed playing it and we loved it and we were on board with the Toir and Iota and the journey. It's just so much nicer to know that other people get it too and are just as invested and think it's just as cool as we do.
Yeah, you can go, yeah, I made that.
Yeah.